This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome everyone to this morning's live safari. We have just come over this crest to a beautiful, beautiful day here on Phinda, and we are sitting and listening to the birds singing, and we've got some nice fresh leopard tracks. But while we sit and wait, welcome to your beautiful live safari in the African wild. So we came over this ridge, and we are actually looking towards the east where the sun has risen, and I know it's super difficult to make anything out of that bright sunlight coming out from above the clouds. These are just some mist clouds that are definitely going to be burning away this morning. But I don't know if you can see a little bit of a glimmer there on the horizon, and that is in actual fact the northern tip of False Bay, or even the water that is in Lake St. Lucia from all the rain that we've had on Phinda. My name is Djuma, and behind the camera we've got Craig. Welcome to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. We are going to be sitting in this area for a little bit, just listening. As we were sitting and waiting, we heard some Nyala's alarm calling in the distance, and interesting enough, while we were pumping our wheels this morning and just checking the air pressure, we were sitting there and we saw some tracks of a female leopard, coming past our accommodation down at Mountain Lodge, and we follow those tracks all the way to this ridge here at the top, and we are just waiting to see if we can hear any alarm calls still, and that will give us a general direction of where to go and look. Just a vehicle coming past, some people monitoring some rhinos, so if they're close by, maybe there's some rhinos close by. Maybe see if we can go look for them. Beautiful cloud formations over Phinda at the moment. Roger, I can hear quite a few birds calling. You're asking what birds we can hear calling in the background. Just off the bat, the most prominent ones, there's quite a special one here in this part of South Africa called an eastern nicketer that I could hear calling in the distance. I could hear some gorgeous bushwracks calling. I can hear rufous-naped lark calling, and quite a few different canaries as well, just by the sounds of it. And I'm sure if we sit quietly, let's listen for a moment, might even hear one or two more species. Just hear one or two little frogs calling in the distance. So with all the rain that we've gotten, there's quite a few mud puddles and little watering holes that's formed everywhere, which makes it a little bit difficult to look for animals, because the animals don't generally have to go to big watering holes to go drink, but they can just get their water anyway. And that's where we are hearing these little frogs calling all the time. I can can just hear. Far in the distance might be a little bit difficult for you to hear, but even a birchall's cuckoo calling. As we're driving, talking about birds, we've been seeing a few barn swallows and European rollers starting to congregate and getting ready to maybe migrate in the next month or two. But while we wait and see if there's any more alarm calls, we're going to send you over to Steve, where he's also sitting and listening to the dawn chorus, where it might be a little bit darker than what it is here because we are so far east compared to them. So we'll send you over to them.
Morning, everybody. Welcome to the dawn once again here in Djuma Private Game Reserve, where we've caught up with some swallows of our own. Hello, everybody. My name is Steve, joined once again on camera by Johan, and we are very excited to be back here on Djuma, back in Rusty and back doing our thing where we've done it best, and very excited to have you with us this morning. It is a lovely 19 degrees Celsius here in Djuma, 67 degrees Fahrenheit. It is nice and cool and fresh, but already the sun is starting to work its magic. And as DB's talking about the swallows starting to get ready for migration, here we have some European swallows doing exactly that. They're all over South Africa at the moment. They're known as European swallows to most South Africans, and the name has now been changed to barn swallow because that is what they're known up in the north. They breed up in Europe. They come all the way back down here for our wonderful insect season. And accumulations like this in February through into March is a very good indication that they're getting ready for the move north. They're having to collect lots more food, build up their body mass, fueling themselves up for an incredible journey. No passports, no stamps of any kind, free as a bird. Doing lots of preening and fixing of the feathers. It's important before doing a long journey to service your car. And servicing of the feathers is of vital importance because a feather out of place or a wing feather not quite in its well-zipped position causes drag, causes energy to be lost. You expend an enormous amount of fuel if your wheels are not aligned, if your engine is not 100% in order. And these birds don't want to waste fuel. They want to be able to utilize all of the fuel that they've accumulated. And in the case of these birds, it is aerial insects, which of course there have been plenty of due to the rains. But by May, all of them will have gone north. But it's possible due to the fact that we've had a lot of rain this year, that we might have a bit of a delayed migration, because migration often is dependent on food resources. But then it's also started to be dependent by the temperature. As it starts to get cooler, daylight hours change, there's a cue for these animals to move. So our plan this morning is just to reacquaint ourselves with the property, see if we still know where we're going, have a look for some tracks, find out what's been going on, have a look at the water, have a look at how less dense the property's become over the last month. But we'll also be doing a spot of birding. Of course, always interested in birds. And I actually challenge my fellow colleagues out there on the show to get some birding in this morning. And the trick with the birding is you need to be able to get the bird on camera and give an interesting fact of any sort with regards to breeding or nesting or something at all. Let's see who else can get some good birds this morning. But before we carry on with our birding, let's go have a look what's going on with the weather.
Good Good morning, fine friends. It's so wonderful to be back on board with all of you. We're watching some impalas out here in quarantine. You know, it's the most exciting time to watch them. My name is Trishala. I've got Impa on camera with me. Yes, dream team. Well, all my cameramen and I are dream team in my eyes, at least. And we're here in quarantine, and we're going to actually have a listen because there's a lot of that rutting sound going on. In fact, there's one ram who's just kind of ramming through the whole herd. It looks all very nice and peaceful with that lovely soft sunlight. The sunlight's getting a little softer as we've moved away from summer. And it all seems magical until that one ram decides, nope, my testosterone levels are up. Just came zooming past just now. But he's not all the way behind us. Oh, something will click. I say it's the most exciting time because the rut will basically become full swing very soon. It peaks around May, but we'll already be hearing that kind of roar that an impala makes. It's a type of sound that you'll never expect to hear coming out from the mouth of an impala, ever. Yet it does. I remember the first time I heard it. It almost sounds like a chimpanzee or something. Here's a youngster coming along, trying his luck. He'd also be feeling a bit of a spike in his testosterone because as the day length gets shorter, it triggers the production of testosterone. So even though he's far from mature, he'll still be feeling a little bit of something coursing through his veins, and it'll make him behave in ways that he didn't expect. You'll even find them play fighting. But when you see the really mature impalas, about 7 or 8 years old, they mean business. Oh, here come a lovely line of ladies making their way. I love when they walk like this. Yeah, they're coming through about now. There we go. Very, very nice. I can see the ram, but he's not quite in frame yet. Hopefully he'll come this way. It really is a very interesting time for impalas. So, you know, Steve said here he's going to focus on birds and challenges everyone else to as well. I'll keep that in mind. But I think I'm going to spend some time with the impalas today because it's so interesting. Anyway, let's send you over to Tswalu and see what they're going to concentrate on this morning.
Well, this lovely black-backed jackal taking it very easy this morning. This is one of 2 individuals that myself and Phinda come across here. The other one was a little bit skittish and has moved off slightly southeast of our current position. But the behavior of this individual actually snoozing now shows that it is not worried by our presence at all, which is great. So a very, very warm welcome. Good morning to everybody. My name is Kyle. Behind camera is BK. And thank you for joining us here at Tswalu Kalahari. It's always lovely to come across these little animals because they are fairly active. If you look at a 24-hour cycle, they are always moving.
and they are very busy little bodies. But having the privilege of being so close to this animal and it just totally not bothered by us is great. So this is more than likely, I didn't take a good look at them, but a couple of months ago we had an individual roaming around here and we tried to locate the den and we weren't successful. But if I'm not mistaken, this actually might be... Oh, and back down. This might be one of the soon-to-be mature pups. So if you look at pups, and when they are born, pups would normally remain with the parents, within the territory of the parents, for about 15 to 18 months roughly. And they will actually provide a lot of help that is needed to raise and rear new pups. So not only looking after the pups, but also providing food and protection for these new individuals. So they're actually learning the ropes before they go off and start their own journey in life. You can see that very distinctive dark dorsal section, hence the name black-backed jackal. Very prominent jackal species through South Africa. And if you take a look at another species that looks somewhat similar, it's the side-striped. But we'll only find that species far on the eastern boundary line of South Africa, going up into Mozambique. Very beautiful species, but not as striking as this coat coloration. We had a little bit of rain last night, which we are very, very happy about. So the substratum is great to look at a few tracks, and myself and BK are going to take it very slowly this evening, just to the southern parts, and we are going to look at a track or two. Oh, sorry, so the question is any difference between the black-backed and the silver-backed? Well, in South Africa, we got the side-striped. So on the side-striped, if that was the question there, you would not have that dark dorsal section. So that black mantle or saddle from its shoulders all the way down to its bum would not be present or displayed on the side-striped jackal, which is the second jackal species that we could come across in South Africa. Very beautiful species as well. But you can see if that animal doesn't move and just remains absolutely motionless, you can see how we could just drive right past it. I wonder where his buddy has gone off. Oh, you see I said buddy? Back down. It's a little bit chilly this morning, so hunkering down like that, you obviously locking in body heat. And there's plenty of food around. So they're definitely not having a problem. We did see this one's belly. It is fairly large. It's rounded to the back end. So if you look at an animal, the extension of the belly, if you look at when it comes to the hind leg, that's normally where you can really judge if an animal is hungry or not. It's obviously a bit tricky in the beginning, but all the birds are starting to wake up. And the sun is just about to peer over the mountains. So with that rain last night, it's made the substratum perfect to take a look at some tracks. And these roads that we obviously on over here are perfect. It's basically like a big, clean page to read the newspaper every single morning, or the news from last night. Would jackals be more active in the winter season? Well, during the daylight hours, Jackal are fairly active, small, say medium, carnivores. So you would find that now predominantly through summer periods, operating more than likely under the cover of darkness to early morning and then residing midday. Don't get me wrong, you can find a jackal roaming around, but then in the winter period, you'd find that they are operating more through into the early hours, later morning. Obviously, when those nighttime temperatures are very chilly, they can still be operating under the cover of darkness in winter. But from my experience, they would definitely try and move around when it's more favorable. Any organism would opt to be in a more favorable format or period to be active. You don't want to be using more resources than you actually need to, because out here it's a give and take, and you know when you can take and when you need to give. So animals' behavior, depending on the time of the year, they will actually shift and change. So it shows you it's actually remarkable how they fit into the environment and they understand the cycles, hot and cold. Because obviously that is there's the very, very large determining factor out here is temperature and fluctuation of temperature. And that's why a lot of animals over here seek shelter underground. It's how they evade the harsher periods of the day or night. Oh, hello.
Our lives are dictated by alarm clocks, traffic jams, constant multitasking, and countless distractions. The wilderness is where many of us feel the most human. On a bushwalk, we become part of the natural landscape. As you step off the vehicle, everything comes alive. As with any risky experience, walking amongst these animals inspires awe and appreciation. Now, it's your turn to go on a bushwalk. Join us from Pride Lands as we slow down our thoughts, put aside our distractions, and reconnect with a place that first taught us how to be human.
We get asked quite regularly what are the differences between African and Asian elephants. We caught up with Haresh, who's from Leopard Trails, which is based in Sri Lanka.
Of course, size and weight is the first thing you notice. The African elephant is much bigger than the Asian elephant. Tusks. In the Asian elephant, it's a very small percentage of male elephants only who have tusks. I was told that there's a theory that the African elephant's ear is in the shape of Africa. The Asian elephant has a much smaller ear. The elephant represents the bush and the jungle in Sri Lanka in a quintessential manner, and I think it's very important that we do whatever we can to protect them.
My name is Steve, and one of my favorite things at WildEarth is getting questions from you. The type of questions that I really like are those ones that really help us to unpack and understand and really integrate the ecological knowledge and fully appreciate the importance that animals such as these Cape buffalo bring to the ecosystem. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, you're going to have to register on the website. But once registered, just head on over to the live Safari page and enter your question under the live feed. If we get game on foot, you need to come
To give them some space. and also enough time to realize that we're here so they can walk by us and feel very comfortable, because they actually were a bit of a roadblock. We saw them coming from quite a while away, and we said, this is a great way to set up a wonderful experience. It's a very safe way to do it, because you can see them from a distance, they can see you from a distance, and then they can get very comfortable and they can decide whether they really want to walk by you or not. So it gives them that option. And then, of course, when they're closer than they've been the whole time we've been sitting here, then they decide to have a bit of a snack. But they'll slowly move this way. Perhaps they want to head to Galago Pan. Elephants are always after a good water source. Now, because of all the rains that we've had and the high water table, a lot of water has been accumulating on the sides of the roads, but quite shallowly. So it's been a great environment for some really juicy grasses to grow, and that's what they've been after there. Hello, girl. Look at this beauty. It's gonna happen. Yeah. She'll come check it out. Or check us out before she let the rest of the herd and her little one come through. I find it very important with elephants to... Oh, listen to... I find it very important to continue to speak as they approach and as they get comfortable, so that they know that I'm not trying to hide from them. Because predators display that kind of behavior, trying to hide. Oh, let's just enjoy this and listen to all of the sounds. She's quite used to the fact that we're here. She's been able to see us for a while. I'll only start talking to her again if she decides to come close. But otherwise, just enjoy. Yeah, there's a low rumble. Mary, you'd like to know if... Just wanted you to hear that. Mary wanted to know if elephants conserve energy in the same way as other animals do in winter. Elephants are a really large animal, as you may know, and because of that large body, they can retain heat very, very well. Look at this one. And because they can retain heat so well, they don't tend to have a lot of behavioral changes in the winter. And also remember, our winter is not terribly cold. The only thing that you may find that they'll do... Hello, girl. Hi. 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 It's just us. Yeah. We know you have a little one. Oh, this is grand. So the only thing you'll watch them do when it's cold is keep their ears against their body so they don't lose heat through them. Hello, magnificent. Yes, you're very strong. A couple things. So she's very close to the vehicle and she's feeding. And also I can see that she's actually feeding. So that's a great sign for me. That tells me she's very comfortable, but also we did everything right to make sure that she would be very comfortable. But if we have a look at her eye, it's very relaxed. Hi, Vonnie. Look, if an elephant wants to say hi to you, Vonnie, you'd like to know, how would I age an elephant? Well, when they're young, it's quite easy. Oh, and she's turned around. Wasn't that wonderful? She's now decided that she's checked us out and all is good. That's beautiful. So, Vonnie, you wanted to know, how would I age an elephant? And so I said, when they're little, it's quite easy, because when they're under a year old, they'll still fit under mum. And that's a really easy way to tell. And then obviously after that, about 2 years old, they can't fit under mum. About 3, they've got little tusks popping out. But also male elephants will grow and continue to grow much larger than females. Now, males actually get a very wide area between their eyes and their tusks, which can indicate their age. But we'll chat about that in a bit, because Steve has a bird to add to his list.
Welcome back, everybody, to Treehouse Watching Hole, where we indeed have got another bird. This one being the infamous woodland kingfisher, who, like our barn swallows from before, is going to be migrating soon. Although they don't go as far as the barn swallow. They only go somewhere into sort of Central Africa, south of the Saharan desert. Now, what's interesting about that, and what a lot of people aren't too sure about, we talk about migratory birds. There's 2 types, or 3 really, but the 2 major types we talk about are the intra-African, and intra meaning within Africa, everything south of the Sahara Desert, and then everything north of the Sahara Desert into places like Morocco and into Europe and into Asia, we call Palearctic. So this fellow here is a breeding migrant. We don't get many breeding migrants in South Africa that come from north of the Sahara Desert. The only ones we have that come here to breed that go north of that are cuckoos. You might wonder, why on earth do they not breed? If they come from further north, it's because they come from very far away. So to be able to get all the way down here, establish fitness, establish a territory, establish breeding readiness in time to breed still for the season is difficult when you're coming all the way from the Russian steppes or from Sweden. And so birds that do come from that far away, Palearctic migrants, don't breed. But the cuckoos, because they sneak down here and they just pop their eggs in the nests of others, they are able to breed. It's a very common practice to see a woodland sitting like this on a branch close to a watering hole or within the bush itself. They sit perched, waiting, doing something, 2 different types of strategies. Plunge diving, which means they might plop down onto an insect that's fallen or moved, or they might even hawk. It's something you see very commonly with bee-eaters and flycatchers, fork-tailed drongo. It's a very efficient way of feeding. You see the swallows that were flying around before, they're constantly, or almost constantly flying. Swifts seemingly never ever stop. That requires a fair bit more energy. And off that bird goes, we can hear blacksmith lapwing. Ooh, you're going to get it, Johan. There he goes. Hello, Mike. You want to know what woodland kingfishers use for nesting? Well, it is very interesting because they are one of the birds that we have here that use old woodpecker or barbet cavities in the trees. So many birds that we find in these areas for breeding will use cavities. They aren't able to create the cavities themselves, but the woodland kingfisher uses cavities in trees, where the counterpart, the brown-hooded, always quite easy to remember, the brown-hooded has got a dirty brown head because they use sort of banks, the sandy banks on the sides of rivers or dams. So they get a dirty head from going in and out of those burrows. But also they struggle to create those nests themselves, although some of the kingfishers are able to actually excavate and dig. It's just the giant and the pied. I'm sure the brown-hooded is probably able to dig a little bit. Bee eaters actually fly into the bank with their beak, trying to make a hole. But often they will utilize holes that have been created before. We're just listening to some more birds. There's some African grey hornbills calling. Emerald spotted wood dove calling. Johan was quite amazed, in fact, at how much water there is here in Treehouse. He was here in December, and it was very low. We've already driven past a couple pans that are still looking...
Direction coming.
Sorry about that. Still past a couple of pans that are still very, very saturated. There's a lot of water, which means that our work is going to be cut out for us trying to find animals, because as the season starts to dry out, it becomes a bit easier to find them because of the location of water. But it is everywhere still. Okay, so we're just going to have a little listen for a moment. Beautiful reflections this morning, Julia. So our Cape turtle dove or ringneck dove calls. Woodland kingfishers calling still. It's possible they might have brooded another time. Being very vociferous this morning. Another way to figure out whether birds have come to breed is whether they are calling or not. European roller, for example, does not call when they arrive. Why call if you're not breeding? Calling in birds, as we know, is all about territory. So if you have a bird and it's calling, it's very likely breeding. Birds will demarcate territories through call to secure a food resource. A territory will encompass the breeding site, and the territory size will be determined by the availability of food. Rattling cisticula is always very noisy. Bearded woodpecker calling in the background. So both Johan and I were at Prrivate recently, where the eco-training students were learning bird calls. And they were practicing bird calls before every meal. And they'd play bird calls, and those who got the bird calls right were able to eat first. So last night, as Johan sat down, I tried to reach for my phone and realized it was in my room charging. I was going to give him a bird call before he could eat. It's a nice way to encourage somebody to learn. Obviously, they didn't starve the students, everybody. It just meant if you knew your bird calls, you ate first, which is always wonderful. Nice motivation, motivating with the stomach. Okay, well, we're going to move on and see what else we can find. We're going to send you back over to Trish with her elephants.
So, the elephants that we had earlier, that lovely cow with her calves, she was actually coming to join a larger herd, and you'll see that often. Just see a few elephants and then you concentrate on them, and then just a little further down there's a whole lot more, and as we predicted, they're moving towards Galico Pan. Now, we had a question earlier about aging elephants, and I thought, let me send you over to Stivov's bird before it flies off, and that we'd get back to it. So we started off by saying young calves, so if they're under a year old, they'll still be able to pass beneath their mum. At 2, they can't. At about 3, they've got little tusks poking through. Then they'll actually have what's called tushes before that, but they're not able to be seen. And then those tushes dissolve where the tusks will be placed. So it actually gives direction to the tusks so that they grow correctly. So if you see tusks that are uneven or skew, or like the character Fang that you may know, Fang is an elephant that we see around here whose one tusk points towards her knee. That could be a result of one of her tushes when she was very little, growing askew and giving a wrong direction to one of her tusks. So yes, we said about 3 years old, those start to poke through. And then between 3 and 6, those tusks become a little bit longer. And then if they're male, by about 15, they're the size of a large or a matriarchal cow. And bulls will continue to grow. So at the shoulder, bulls are about 3 meters high. Females or cows only about 2 to 2.5 meters tall. Look at how carefully she's reversing. And then as bulls age, the distance between their eyes gets bigger and bigger, and the distance between their tusks get bigger and bigger, so they end up with this hourglass shape. There's actually a bull coming through behind us, so we're just going to be a little bit careful now. And there's a bull coming out in front of us. So this is not a very safe situation. So I'm just going to be quiet. So there's a bull behind us and a bull in front of us, and there's a cow in the middle. So what that means is that she's going to feel harassed. There we go. Much better. Much better. So she's going to feel harassed, and then she's going to behave in a way that's a little bit more unpredictable. Though the focus of both these bulls will be on the female, sometimes that focus can change. Very quickly, too. Okay. Let us just go off to the side so I can see a little bit more clearly, because at the moment, there's just bush all to my one. All right. You know, the elephants in the Sabi sands are, shall I say, very well behaved. I mean, that's not a very good description. But they're quite, compared to other elephants in the area, compared to the Kruger elephants or elephants that you may see in other reserves, they're quite predictable, or they're better at being predicted, and they're much calmer. So we can have these kind of experiences where in other areas they're so unaccustomed to people and cars and the same kind of frequency that the situation that we had there would have been potentially very dangerous. And unfortunately, that kind of thing is very difficult to predict because those two bulls came from the sides out of nowhere. And one in front and one behind of the vehicle. So in that case, you've got to really just have your wits about you, put your car into gear, have your hand on that key so you're ready to turn and you're ready to move straight out. Luckily, we were on the road, so we could have reversed straight up. I just want to end up at the pan because that will give us a lot more space because we were basically in the middle of the herd as they came up behind us, so the males came up behind us. Just wait for this cow to move. I can see them down there. All right. At least the bush is just a tad, a fraction thinner than it has been these last, at least my last stint, the last few weeks ago. Okay, all good. Now we're gonna have a delight. There's this bull. Here's one of the culprits. Hello, you. You put me in a less than ideal situation, or rather, I put myself in it, didn't I? Look at this guy. He's not a huge bull, and what we'll do, based on what we learned about aging them, we'll try and age him when he's looking front on. Blake, you'd like to know, when do they actually reach maturity? They reach maturity quite young. So between 15 and about 18, they'll be mature, but they may not actually mate. So a lot of the time we base maturity on the fact that they're able to reproduce. So most of the time, because they get outcompeted by must bulls, but not always, because some research shows that a lot of the time it looks like the must bulls are the ones that are getting the majority of mating rights. A lot of the time, it's the younger individuals that are in about their mid-20s that mate frequently too. Not just mate, but produce offspring. Look at this. So you can see if we're doing, we're basing our, or we're trying to age him based on what we've learned. You can see he's quite young. You can see that he's actually quite lanky, quite tall, right? And his body hasn't quite filled out. Now there's even a younger bull coming towards him. So he's tall. This one's slightly shorter. So this one, there's a nice height comparison there as well. So this one closest to us, the shorter one, I would put that one in about 15 to 18. That as we talked about, that maturity phase. So that young bull would have been kicked out of its herd and recently found other bulls to hang out with. Now the one that's taller, I would say closer to 20, 22-ish, because it's still not fulled out. And you can see the distance between the eyes and the tusks. That hourglass shape is just kind of starting to form. So early 20s. Now if he was in his 30s, you'd see he'd be quite bulkier, and that hourglass shape would be much better, or more well-defined. But there is there's a bigger bull somewhere around here, and that's the one that came up in front of us and moved away. And it seems like there's a little bachelor herd here that has found our breeding herd and decided to see what action they could find there. The smaller one, he just dipped his trunk in and then rubbed his eye, so it looks like he's got an eyebrow. Can you see that? Oh, they're listening. Tori, hello and good morning. You'd like to know if they drink any water through their trunks? That is a really good question, because I think a lot of people think that they do. So let's start with that being a misconception. They don't drink any water through their trunks, except for the occasional trickle. And that's not drinking. That's more like when you get tumbled by a wave at the beach and then all that water goes up your nose and it burns. Because what is a trunk? A trunk is an extension of the nose combined with the upper lip. So there's no function within the trunk that will allow it to swallow. But what they do is they fill their trunk up with water and then deposit it over their body, like this one just did. Throw it to the side or dunk it into your mouth. I just want to watch them go by. They're usually quite curious. And why I'm terribly nervous about these two is that they're not very old bulls. And you'll actually find, although you should always assess every situation as potentially dangerous, but I find that cows with calves, for me, are much more dangerous than bulls like this, who are not in must. You can see that they're not dribbling urine. They tend to be quite gentle giants. Thanks, guys. That was beautiful. He might actually be a little bit older. Another thing I had a look at as he came past was that part of his tusks, one tusk was a little chipped, so he's obviously been engaging in a lot of play fighting or even fighting. And the other thing is that at the top of their forehead, kind of, I guess as humans get old too, there's a bit of a depression, like a bit of saggy skin. So he's probably mid-20s, but still not bad depressions. That's why I'd say mid-20s. Anyway, we're going to move on from these wonderful elephants and see what else we can find.
Just look at that. It is absolutely incredible. And as far as I can see, that all falls within the reserve. So it is a vast landscape, but we are gifted with these incredible things, the wildcats, the aardvark, you name it. It just keeps on delivering. It's just such an incredible privilege to be out here.
And when you think
It could not get better. Mother Nature says, hold on tight.
Oh my word, that is gorgeous. We are cooking on gas this afternoon.
Have a look at what we've got. Look at how this is the best day of my gutting career so far.
We have a baby pangolin, a baby pangolin. We're just gonna go very quietly, very quietly. There's your aardvark. And for those of you who've never seen one, this is one of the big safari specials on any reserve.
I'm just holding my cap because otherwise it's going to blow away with this storm coming towards us.
Absolutely beautiful to be able to see water flowing in this volume in the Kalahari. Oh, look at that. You can see the structural component of these flowers. It is perfect. Such a treat to be in and amongst these incredible insects. How lucky are we? You can see how close they are to the vehicle. Very curious.
Oh, you can do it! There we go. We made it over. Whew. But look at that view. That's absolutely stunning.
You can see how they're going into stalking mode. Okay, there we go. This one female is gonna walk straight past the car now. Absolutely stunning. Look at that. I mean, do we just not have the best jobs in the world? That was epic.
Quite far out. And those two younger bulls are standing in front of him. And they might play fight, so that's what I'm hoping for. But he actually displayed it to the two of them as they approached. Now that could mean that, you know, he's the older one, so he can instigate a lot of play fights. Or it could mean that he is, quote unquote, courting one of the cows in this herd. Because the rest of the herd is behind him, and he's trying to make sure that those two youngsters do not come through and try their luck. You know, the two younger ones are having a go. And Paul, I'm just going to move us to this patch here so we can get the trees out of the way. All right, this is really interesting. So I'm going to stick with them, and as I move to get us a bit of view, I'm going to send you over to Taylor to say good morning.
So it seems as though elephants is going to be the theme on this very hot, sunny morning. We have got one too, but it's not in the Sabi sand. It's here at Leopard Dam at Pridelands. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Niels. And like I said, we are here on bushwalk at Pridelands Conservancy, which is part of Tswalu Game Reserve and the Greater Kruger Park. Now, I can't tell you how we have been dodging elephants left, right and centre. It's been very much like a Jurassic Park sort of scene, with trumpeting and rumbling coming from all directions. So it looks like there's been a herd of elephants here already this morning. We could hear them splashing in the distance, but at the moment we've just got a young bull that has made his way down and just having a drink and a nice shady spot. It's really beautiful to see how the trees have actually framed him this morning. And not quite ready to go for a swim. And as you can see, look how he's very specifically looking for the cleanest of clean water. He's sort of just moving his trunk over the surface. Every now and then he'll probably give it a little swish, just to make sure that there's no sort of dirt and mud. But I can see lots of other elephants just in the distance, and they might have been the ones that were here. Now, Jane, you're just 12 years old, and you've asked about what other animals might live in this watering hole. I don't know if you even saw the shadows of some birds that flew right over, Jane, but there was a flock of Egyptian geese, and they're normally here. Some of them have got goslings at the moment, but it looked like a pair with some older goslings. Then, of course, you might hear the tick, 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 tick. That's a blacksmith lapwing in the distance. So there's quite a few birds that live around here. There's even a bearded woodpecker that's making a very sort of knocking sound. But things that live underneath the water, goodness, even if I had a pair of goggles, I wouldn't be able to see very well. So I have to sort of just guess what I'd imagine is here. There's definitely terrapins, which is like a combination between a tortoise and a turtle, if you will. And they live in fresh water, but they've got claws. They don't have flippers. So there'll be quite a few of them. There's lots and lots of insects and vertebrates that will live in this water too, from freshwater shrimp to boatmen and water striders. So there'll be a host of insects that live here, and then of course fish. So lots of catfish, or barbel as we call them in South Africa. There might even be a few species of tilapia and other freshwater fish. This dam typically holds water all year round, as we've seen. We don't pump any water into it. It fills up naturally by itself. So where we're positioned right now, we're actually in quite a nice spot, because we had to do a little bit of marching. We're up on the dam wall on the eastern side of the dam, and we're shaded nicely by trees, which is why I'm able to talk a little bit louder. I don't quite have to whisper, because the elephant is quite far away, and we're all keeping an eye out to make sure that there aren't any more that are going to sneak up to us. Now, Phyllis, I suppose, yes, there is some truth to elephants having a good memory. They've got a very well-developed frontal cortex, and which obviously is where lots of memories and things like that are stored. But in terms of like an elephant remembering what it had for breakfast 4 days ago, perhaps not, but they remember information that is very important to them. So things like, where can they find water if there is a drought? You know, what areas should they check? Where is there really good grazing? And all this type of information is passed on from elephants who have got a lot of experience. We know that they can live for a very, very long time. And so that information will be passed on from the oldest members on the herd all the way down to the youngest members, and that will stay with them. And then if they also meet other elephants, you know, elephants can communicate through these infrasounds, which are these very, very low frequencies of rumbling that we can't really hear. They'll communicate with one another as well, and they'll know, okay, maybe an elephant has got to a spring which normally would have water in it, and they would get there and perhaps they'd send out a message, there is no water here. So if other elephants are on their way, if they've got the same kind of thinking, perhaps they'll divert their course. So they're constantly communicating with one another all the time. But those memories of where to find food and where to find water in times of hardship is very, very important. And if not, those are the most important memories that an elephant needs to remember, and of course to pass down that information to all the younger generations of elephants.
How wonderful to have Djuma elephants and Prrivate elephants, and I'm sure we'll get elephants from the other locations too. Now, I always think about on my return the things that I want to see. And I thought, let's chat about it a little bit so we know what our plan is, our extended plan for the next 2 weeks. So the first thing that I love to see, and I love very much, are elephants. So that's a tick, and that'll mean that I'll stop for elephants along the way, always. Because I have such wonderful encounters with them, and I really, really enjoy that. Then, I know that there have been some, I wouldn't even say rumors, some sightings of a Tlalamba featuring suckle marks. Of course, I think that we need to see this, right, to confirm. So I'm really going to be wanting to see Tlalamba, wanting to look for her, and all our other leopard friends too, but especially that girl. Squirrel friend. Ah, there we go. Hello, squirrel. So I want to find Tlalamba. I'd love to see if she's got cubs. In fact, I think I'd be satisfied just if we together could see if she's got suckle marks, even if we're not lucky enough to see cubs. Off it's gone. Well, it's gone in our direction. That's where we're going down. Now, the other thing that I'd love to see is I'd want to go down to the den. I think it's a bit warm now, but I'd love to go and catch up with our cubs, maybe this afternoon. We can do that. So that's what I want to really focus in on. Now, I also know that chameleons have been making an appearance of late. I mean, nobody wrote to me, no chameleon asked me for permission, but apparently they've been making appearances. So I'd love to see them too. In fact, why did I even start this list? Because you know that I can never... I'm never able to pick something over something else because everything is so valuable. In fact, if I had to choose a favorite of something, I would feel compelled to know that somebody else has chosen a favorite of the other things, so that they can all exist, because my favorite thing wouldn't be able to exist if everything else didn't exist. Anyway, it's just a bit of a segue. Because now I'm thinking about all the other things I'd love to see. I would like to see some, let's just have a look at these impalas here. It's a nice bachelor herd. When I'm thinking about all the other things I want to see, I'm thinking about jennets and white-tailed mongoose and owls and bush babies and all those other evening delights. Can you hear that? That was the snort. Now, this is very much a rutting snort, so it sounds like the alarm call. But it's a little less forceful. It's almost, the pitch is a little bit different. But they are all looking in one direction. Let's just have a quick look. Although it sounds like the rutting alarm, or the rutting sound or snort, that sounds very similar to an alarm call. But this always happens when they're starting to rut. So everybody's looking down here. Sorry, ladies, please move aside as I check out what it is, or if there is anything that is bothering you down here. Okay. Jessica, you want to know how reliable impala alarm calls are? I've got leopard tracks here. They're very reliable. At this time, of course, not as reliable, because there's a lot of rutting going on, and then that similar sound. You get that similar sound when they're rutting. Sorry, I'm just thinking. I know. How could I do it again? Think. Let's just listen for a little bit. Let's go to Western quarantine. I have a feeling. So what I'd look for when they're rutting. So we stopped at the bachelor herd. Excuse me, when we first heard it, and that to me would indicate that it's rutting. And then we saw the females. So now we have ewes that were also alarming. So it's not engaging in the rutting behavior. So let's go and have a look, because I think we may find a leopard. So let's send you over to Taylor in the meantime.
Well, good luck, Trishala. I wish you the very best on your leopard search. We're still here at Leopard Dam. No leopards, but of course we've got some more elephants that have come down. Now, this seems to just be a small breeding herd. Whether or not they are part of a greater herd somewhere lurking in the bushes, I'm not quite sure, but we must be very careful. There are 2 females, from what I could see. A youngster, which is just hiding behind the bushes at the moment. It got pushed out of the way, so it thought, I'm not having any of that this morning, and it's just drinking in the corner by itself. But I'm sure the one that you are looking at just come almost ankle deep into the water now. It must be so nice for the elephants that they don't have to wade all the way across, and they can just quite happily drink right at the edge. And I'm sure this water is nice and cool. We've had some chilly evenings. I've even had to start sleeping with a blanket now, which is unusual. And I think that they are appreciating that. I know how nice it is after a long hot day or first thing in the morning to have a glass of ice cold water. I haven't been brave enough to stick my fingers into this water as I can't see what is below it. Don't want to take any chances, but I imagine that it would be quite cool. This is such a magical moment. You know what I think we can do? Let's try. I'm going to sneak up. Let's try just sneak here and find another little gap. But now I'm going to lower my voice a little bit and see if we can't see the elephants that have moved this side. You can see it's a really nice pathway that we're walking on here. It's very well used by leopards, by elephants, buffalo. The baboons like to sit here and gaze upon the watering hole. If we just go to these knobthorns and tambwetis, I think we'll get a good view. Could do a bit of ducking and diving. Yeah, this is going to be good. Wow. There's also an aeroplane just flying over, which will be good for us. We can quickly make a shuffle. There we go. I think if you look through that gap. Anna Marie, I haven't seen Susan lately. I'm actually hoping she's going to come down here. That would be the ultimate thing for those of you that have no idea who Susan is. Susan is probably the most dramatic elephant I've ever met in my entire life. And she's quite a quirky young teenage cow. And she always puts on a show for us, and we see her quite regularly. And I've somehow developed, if you will, a relationship with her, as we all do when you spend lots of time with the same animals over and over. You can see the little one's now got a nice spot to drink, and also has almost like a hook shape with sort of a wet splash of I think one of the other adults' trunks touched it on the forehead. Just reaching over to that tambweti tree. Is your trunk a bit itchy? It does sound like there's maybe some of the eco-training students now making their way through here. There are elephants everywhere today. It's so special. Yesterday, we really didn't see so many elephants while we were out on walk. It was surprising. And I think today, there's more. Come and look here. So back underneath that acacia tree, watch what's going to happen there. There's going to be a whole bunch more elephants popping out. We're going to have to see Susan sooner or later. I haven't seen her. There's an elephant coming towards the back. She's just about to come through. It looked like she had tusks that hugged her trunk. Nah, it's not her. This young bull's getting shoved out of the way. There must be a few cows. Obviously, they pull a higher rank. And they will very quickly tell him to get out and go drink somewhere else, which he's doing. Making way for some of the younger ones. I don't think he was very happy about that, but it is what it is. I love elephants for that reason, just for their sheer size, that they push and shove one another around, and whoever's bigger, and I suppose who's ever more sure-footed and doesn't tumble over easily and can hold their ground, they get the spot. But of course, in a scene like this, the cows definitely rule the roost. Those are just 2 little ones, not too little, probably 5 years and up, maybe around 5 years. Stretching out. Also hear the foam nest frog. I bet that croak, 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 croak noise. We were speaking about them yesterday at Ndlovu Dam. Probably just camouflaged on a tree. I doubt we'd be able to find it. So there we go, Jane, if you're still watching. Lots of amphibians that also like to live in and around the watering holes. That's beautiful. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have a moment just to listen to see if I can hear, obviously, any more elephants that might be coming down. Oh, that's loud. That was short-lived, so there's just someone starting up a vehicle, so I'll continue chatting. Rochelle, this is a great question. Do elephants hold grudges against one another? I'm sure they do. They must. I think that one day one will be in a bad mood and, you know, maybe have a go at another elephant, and it will probably take them some time. I mean, I'd be very disappointed if I was stretching out to, you know, go for the last of the marula fruits for the season, and then someone bumped me out of the way and took it. I'd be very upset. To be honest, I'd probably never speak to that elephant again, but that I'm very much about food, so, you know, don't play with me and don't take my food. So I'd be an elephant that would definitely hold grudges. I don't think necessarily anything serious, however. They have to get over it. You can imagine out here in the bush. I don't think that they hold grudges in that sort of sense. I'm sure they get annoyed with one another for short periods of time, but then, of course, they've got to put that past them and they've got to carry on. But we're going to try and get another view because there's a few more bulls that have come from the northern side of the dam. So the next time you see us, we'll probably be watching them.
WildEarth explorer Jenny recently joined Tristan as he broadcast live from Djuma.
Awesome to kind of have a guest on board. I'm looking forward to this. This is Jenny.
Hi everyone.
And Jenny is the first of our Ticket to Dream holders.
If you want to go on safari with a WildEarth guide, whilst honing your bush knowledge and of course featuring in one of our shows, then head over to our website.
Literally being with Tristan on the vehicle today has been incredible. It has truly been a dream come true.
Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer and you could be making your first ever on-screen appearance.
I would highly recommend being a part of the Explorer program and being able to be a part of an interactive live drive.
Our bodies are made up of about 60% water, which means that in a very short space of time, you can dehydrate completely. A relatively efficient way of collecting water early in the morning is to take an absorbent material like a sock and to walk through the grass, absorbing the condensed dewdrops on the grass. Once the material is saturated, you can then squeeze it out into a container, or you can suck it out directly into your mouth.
Hi everyone, my name's Daniel Fisher and I'm going to be your guide this afternoon. I'm looking really forward to taking you through and showing you all the beautiful places here at andBeyond in Ngala. If you have any questions, please register on our website. Once registered, go to the live page feed and post your questions underneath the live feed. Join me on my next safari through andBeyond in Ngala on WildEarth. Send me live questions through the WildEarth website and I'll answer them live from the African bush.
Something very, very interesting. I didn't plan this, but this is a scene rarely seen. This is what we call a journey of giraffe. So beautiful.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to andBeyond Ngala. It's me, Rowan, behind the camera, Gert, and we just found some cheetah. I've not seen cheetah in Ngala for months. So far I can see 2. Yes, the timing there was extraordinary. Okay, now there's 3. There's 4. Oh wow. You can see they're actually dipping their head. So it looks like a mom, a big female, and then 3 youngsters. I think they are, 3 youngsters. They're the ones dipping their head. Gert, I'm going to stop like this. So the youngsters are in the shadows. Go a little bit forward. There we go. Oh, that is absolutely extraordinary. And there's literally no better place to find them than where we are now. This is known as Cheetah Flats. It's rightfully so. I'm so excited. Oh, that's very cool. Very, very, very cool. I wonder if they hunted in this area because as we were driving up, there were quite a few vultures. There we go. You can see the mother. Beautiful animal. She's quite well camouflaged with her sitting in the shade like that. It was not too hard for us to spot because as we were driving up, actually lifted their heads, and with the lighter grass behind her in the shadow, you could just see the ears and the outline of the head. Mr. Wild, I bet you are not as excited as I was when we spotted these. I mean, this is an extraordinary find. Like I said, it's been months. Look at the youngster. It's just such a grumpy face, isn't it? Oh, wow. No, absolutely extraordinary. You can see they're just keeping an eye on us now. So Rule just joined us with National Geographic, and they're sitting right behind us. But they're very, very, very alert about everything that's going on in there. So every now and then they'll look curiously at us, and then now they're all looking at what Mom's doing. She's dipped down. She's actually went and lay down. You can't even see her. Which luckily with 3 youngsters here, like I was saying, they're not too used to the vehicles. So they actually popped up their heads first to see what was coming, what was happening. And then voila, we found them. See that little face peeking through the bush. It's amazing that she was able to raise 3 youngsters to this age already. And she's done extraordinarily well. And I was saying yesterday, I was actually speaking to OD about it, how, we're not seeing cheetah or wild dog because the grass is so long. But then today it changed. Actually, funny enough, OD's never seen a cheetah on Ngala. And then, of course, the first day he goes on leave, what do we find? A cheetah. Well, 4 of them. Now I see the other youngster, so just peeking through. So we don't know if those are males, females, what they are. I haven't really been able to tell that. And now disappearing a little bit. What we might try in a little while is actually go around the bush and see if we can get to the other side. But also, what we don't want to do is film into the sun. But they are all down now. I think, let's do a loop. We had quite an interesting morning. We've been tracking that lioness in 3. And then we tried to cross the river where the sand is very soft. We actually got stuck. But it was okay, because last night, when we left the Rossmels, Rule got stuck. So we had to actually jump Rule's car. And then this morning, Rule asked us owed us a favor. So we just quickly asked him where he was. And then he towed us out. Okay, so we're going to try get a better view of these animals. But for now, I'll send you back over to Pridelands.
goodness, Rowan, I feel your pain. I used to be the queen of the Marshmallow Club for a very long time, not only on a vehicle but also on foot. So anyways, the elephants are playing around quite a bit now in the mud. And there's something that's quite comical that's happening, and I hope we get to see it live. Remember I mentioned that there's a blacksmith lapwing, which is a black and white bird, and it makes a sort of very metallic sound. Now, it is very upset with those elephants that are over there rolling around in the mud. And we've actually seen them from the other side of the dam, the elephants in the same spot. You might remember that there's a beautiful big boerbean tree that the elephants will go up and rub on. And they'll also rub on the sort of embankment there. I think that there might be a nest, unfortunately, because it keeps flying back and opening up its wings, and it's very vocal. Now, those elephants, of course, have no idea that there is a nest on the ground, especially when you're the size of them. So if they were to trample that nest, if there's chicks or if there's eggs, they're not going to do so deliberately. And unfortunately, it is something that we have witnessed in the past on WildEarth, where blacksmith lapwing chicks have fell victim to an elephant's foot. And it's very sad. But again, I don't think it's intentional. They're just really big mammals moving around. I've even seen a tortoise that's been stood on by an elephant before. I mean, that can't be very, very nice. It was wedged in a rat, and this elephant went straight on top of it. It was horrible. But anyways, these things happen. Elephants, however, having a fantastic day. It's nice and cool. It's not too hot. The water's, at a nice temperature. They're slipping and sliding in the mud. And I hope that if they do go and decide to throw dust on themselves, which they normally do after lathering up with a thick layer of mud, that we'll be able to go around and watch it on foot too. But we just have to be very careful because of the amount of elephants that are coming from literally north, south, east and west. That's why I feel quite safe on the dam wall, because if we need be, we've got lots of trees and we can also disappear down the other side. But I don't think we're going to go anywhere. I think that this is where all the action is going to happen. Rowan is now moving around as the cheetah are up and on the go.
Thank you, Taylor. So when we moved, the mom started moving, and you can now see she's the one we focused on. The youngsters are a little bit behind her, just in the shade. Don't really think they'll move too far. It's gonna heat up very quickly today. She's just making a poo, so wait for her to finish, and then see where she goes. It's a great place for them. They'll be able to see far across the plains, and especially hunting for them. I mean, a cheetah reaches 90 to 100 kilometers an hour running, so they need open spaces for speed. Not to say they can't hunt in woodland. No, they're more than capable. You can see that long tail behind her. Of course, that helps her with balance when she runs at those speeds. So the youngsters, I'd say they're between 8 to 10 months. They're definitely not babies anymore. They're following mom quite clearly. Every now and then you'll just see the big tail up top as they try to keep it above the grass and then keep looking back. They seem to be of similar size. So the one maybe a little bit further left looks a bit smaller. It could be that it's 2 males and 1 female. I haven't really been able to identify the sex of these animals. I'm going to go a little bit forward again. Not losing view, I just think it's quite nice. The sun is behind us, and the sun on the cheetah are beautiful. Noble Rabbi, sorry, I missed the question a little bit. Are the young cheetahs old enough too? If the question is to hunt by themselves, eat solids, yeah, absolutely. These will be eating meat at this stage. They're not old enough to hunt by themselves, but they'll definitely be led to carcasses. So mom will take them to carcasses. It's actually funny to watch their behavior with us. So we are not close to them at all. We're over, now at this stage, 60 meters away. and the youngsters are just not used to vehicles, which makes us think. I mean, it does make sense. Lodges at this stage are quite quiet, not driving around too much, so I don't think these youngsters have seen too many vehicles, so they're not really habituated to us. You can see the curiosity. The one is just checking us out the entire time. Mom is completely habituated. She's perfectly fine with vehicles. Just the youngsters are not so much. And that tail just flicking in the air. Must be smelling something there that it likes the scent of. They're not quite like lion youngsters at this age, because the two cubs of the young female, I mean, they're pretty much the same age, maybe a little bit younger. And seeing the two of them move around, they keep playing with each other. These cheetahs, we haven't really seen them playing with each other at all yet. But I think it's the presence of us here. It's putting a bit of strain on them. All the mouths are open though, breathing quite hard. Quite difficult for this mom to look after 3 youngsters. But like I said, she did extremely well, especially in these conditions with the grass so high. If a lion or a leopard had to come across a cheetah, though, it's a bit of danger for them. I'll definitely try to kill them. Even hyenas. So these are the smallest of the big cats that you'll find around here. And yeah, it's a bit tough on them. I've seen vultures push a cheetah off a kill. I just see the little heads popping out. Actually, the one youngster looks to be grooming the mother. What a way to start the day. I'll be honest, when I left the lodge this morning, cheetah wasn't even on my mind. I never thought we'd come to find cheetah. A beautiful scene with the grass waving. So you can see there's a bit of a breeze, but it is going to get up to 32 degrees Celsius today. So I don't think these cheetah are going to move too far. I think they'll find, like now, just a shady spot in this area and then spend the majority of the day here. Easy for them. There's no ambush predators that can actually stalk up to them where they are now, unless all of them fall asleep. But where they are, they can see majority of what's going on around them, except for the other side of the bush, which they're using for shade. But then that, they'll be able to hear if there's any danger on the other side. First time in a long time that we get to Cheetah Flats and there's not a single impala in sight. So I think maybe a little bit earlier these cheetah were actually trying to hunt. So it is at this age. I got asked the other day, how do the young cats learn how to hunt? So at this age, the mom would actually catch a baby impala or impala lamb and then sometimes keep it alive. Then she'll leave it to her youngsters to try kill, which is, it's very interesting to watch, but also very sad for the impala, because the youngsters, what they often do is just play with it for a long while. So you can imagine the stress it puts on the impala lamb before they kill it. But it's all a learning curve. It's all natural. Mom's lifted her head. Now the one youngster's up. There's a second youngster up. Pretty sure the third one's going to do the same. Yeah. It's like the third one's way shyer than the other two. And look, all of them looking in different directions, covering all the bases. A very pretty face, a beautiful animal. Especially those tear marks that run down from the eyes. Of course, this helps them see during the day, because there are more diurnal hunters than nocturnal hunters, so it does shelter a bit from the sun. Back to sleep. I think the other youngster will fall soon, and then the mom will go down again.
definitely not as at ease as a lion would be. I mean, this time of the day, a lion would just be snoring away, being the apex predator, nothing too much to worry about. Judith asking if these cheetahs are in lion territory. So Judith, lion, cheetah, leopard, wild dog, hyena, all predators cross their territories. There's not going to be a block where you only find lion and then a block next to it where you'll only be able to find leopard and then a block next to that where you'll only be able to find cheetah. All of these animals move freely across Ngala, which is going to be lion territory, leopard territory, hyena clan territory. So yes, where they are now, it's in the territory of the Ross males and the Birmingham Pride. Actually, we've seen the Birmingham Breakaway Pride here before as well. This is in the territory of the half-eared male leopard and the New Zulu female. So yeah, they are in territories of other animals. Actually, earlier on, when we were a little bit stuck, we heard lions calling, or a lion calling from this sort of direction. But then it's good news for them. I mean, if they can hear a lion calling, they know exactly which area to avoid. So we think it's one of the Ross males who went past where they were. Yes, we found tracks of one going south and then west. And where we are now is far west of where we had them last night. So we can see the ears flicking, trying to get rid of flies, and it's exactly what Gert and I are doing. We're just waving flies away the entire time. So we're going to sit here for a while, see if anything changes. I do think they're going to settle in the shade. But for now, we'll send you guys back over to Steve and Djuma.
Well, how exciting. Cheetah in the morning is always a win. I'll take that any day. But we've managed to find a herd of elephants. But we've been missioning around Torchwood, everybody. We're on the trail of some wild dogs that were up and down and up and down and up and down. And we didn't actually eventually get them, but we found ourselves in an area that we weren't able to broadcast from. So we've come back onto Djuma, or should I say Cheetah Cut Line, the boundary between Torchwood and Djuma. And we found a lovely herd of elephants, very relaxed here on the boundary, and their general movements are sort of towards us. So we're just going to stay here with them. They're moving very slowly. When we first arrived, that female, she had a slight reaction from a distance, so we just stopped and switched off. But her eyes are very, very relaxed. I think she's actually just in the process of having a little nap. But behind her, over her shoulder, you can actually see that there's a decent-sized male there. And it's possible that he's the reason why she might have reacted slightly. She just had a slight change in behavior. There was no aggression or anything, but when it comes to elephants, everybody, it doesn't matter how I don't know if you got that, Johan. That little teenager just pushed a little baby out the way. That scream sounds like a pterodactyl. And that caused the adult female to react, but she realized it was just a little bit of banter amongst the siblings. But whenever you're out and about, everybody, I mean, there's precedents that need to be set with elephants, and if you don't know elephants, then just learn. Take your time, see what they're doing. If from a distance they change their behavior, then switch off and see what happens. If from a distance nothing happens at all, there's no change, they're doing what they're doing right now, feeding and hitting the grass against the body, ears are flapping. You can see babies. I know I talk about this all the time, but it's something I'm hoping to impart on all of those people aspiring to come and drive themselves around the Kruger or in other reserves where there are free-roaming elephants, because they are a big animal. And they can push back quite heavily if you get in the wrong place. And, well, you can also get in the right place every single time if you just understand the behavior. They will come as close to you as they feel like. And if they do so in a relaxed manner, there's no animosity there. There's no aggression. They're not going to sneak up to you and then attack your car. That's not what they do. If an elephant doesn't like the noise of a car, you will know about it pretty quickly, I can assure you. There'll be a very quick change in behavior. There might be trumpeting, there might be noise, there might be running away, there might be freezing. There might just be this lift of the head. All of those are signs that something's not quite right. And if you give them lots of space, it's like respecting your elders. Just respect them. The elders, if they decide to come closer to you, that's their own free will. Don't think because you've been trained with very relaxed elephants that all elephants you ever encounter are going to be the same. We had some magical moments in Prrivelands. I've had some magical moments here in Djuma as well. I've had some magical moments with elephants in general in my career. But I always play the same card with them. I always listen and learn and figure out what they're doing. And I don't just assume. And that has worked for me time and time again. Nick and Over, they do actually have the Jacobson organ. I was fortunate back in my practical year when I was doing a practical for my nature conservation diploma. Got placed out in the Timbavati and then into the Kruger. Timbavati is where Ngala's at. And there was a few elephants that were darted for collars by an organization called Save the Elephants, where they were darting breeding herds of elephants, a female, putting collar on, and also darting some males to put a collar on to work out the movement patterns of these animals. It's a GPS collar that works out all sorts of things, the distance they travel, how quickly they travel, when they travel, all that sort of thing. It all goes to a database and then allows someone to play with the numbers and put together all sorts of statistics. And so I was involved with 2 elephant dartings of big bulls. And when the elephant was on the ground with all the vet services and all the sensitivity being played, we were measuring the teeth inside with a bit of a fluoride mold that you put inside onto the teeth, because the teeth, the molars, erupt in certain changes in age. There's 6 sets of molars, and so by putting a mold on the teeth, you can actually work out within about 2 years the age of an elephant, 32, 34, 24, 26, that sort of thing, by how the teeth have erupted. And just in the top of the mouth, underneath the trunk, in the roof of the mouth, are 2 little holes, probably about as round as the tips of my fingers. And that is the Jacobson organ in the elephant's mouth. So you don't notice an elephant lifting its lip like you see with all of the other animals that we see out here, that when they test the urine. But whenever you see an elephant taking its trunk and putting it up to its mouth, that is what it's doing. And the same when 2 elephants meet, you'll often see them intertwining trunks and even putting their trunk into the mouth of their fellow, because they've almost taken their scent and gone to their friend and said, "Hey, smell what I've been up to," which is quite incredible. So it's a very active organ. It's probably, if I worked it out, it's probably, the holes are just slightly smaller than the circumference of each of my nostrils in the roof of the mouth of the elephant. But you see, the herd is slowly coming closer. They definitely know we're here. They've heard us. The wind is coming from the back. Busy feeding. Very relaxed. You can time this sort of thing perfectly with the general direction that they're moving. And you can park the car, move off the road as I've done, and if they want to walk past you, they will walk right next to you. I believe we are the only animal that can pretend to be relaxed, and then as soon as you're not looking, stab you in the back. Elephants don't do that. If elephant's not happy, you'll know about it. Our vehicles obviously make a fair amount of noise, everybody, so there's no doubt that they pick up on that sound. And I've seen elephants reacting from as far away as 200 meters. Okay, well, we're probably going to stay here with the Ellies as they come a little bit closer.
I'm absolutely delighted to have won the February prize draw for 3 nights for 6 people at the Djuma Private Game Reserve. I absolutely love everything WildEarth has to offer. I find the guides extremely knowledgeable and will go above and beyond to ensure a great safari experience. I will be taking my husband and family from the UK to experience this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. One of the main reasons I joined the WildEarth Explorer program was for the fireside chats and also to win an incredible prize, which I am so fortunate to win and incredibly happy. I would like to thank WildEarth for this amazing prize and cannot wait to meet the team.
It's a huge privilege to be in these incredible places with these amazing animals. I love filming lions. When they do get up and do something, it's always spectacular. When they are playing, are incredibly fun to watch, especially subalterns and cubs. I love being in the bush and working in these incredible places with these amazing animals. We want to bring it to you so that you can almost feel like you're right there and be able to experience it and enjoy it the way we are.
Hello, I'm Marna, your WildEarth Safari Guide from andBeyond Ngala. What I really like about connecting with WildEarth viewers is that we get to speak to viewers instantly and I get to show you this beautiful property. If you want to ask me a question, register on the WildEarth website. Simply head over to the live safari page and you can submit your questions there. Join me or one of the other guides twice a day on WildEarth.
This is a battle of 2 great carnivores of the African wilderness. Whew. Whoa! You don't want to be under those jaws. Definitely, this round goes to the lion. Look at that. Fantastic.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
So we had 3 of the cheetah up and just looking around, and now they've all gone and laid down again. So it seems every 4 to 5 minutes, one, or at least a mother, would stand up and scan around her. And she doesn't look into the clearing, she actually looks into the bush. So I think she's trying to see anything on the other side of the guari bush that they're all lying in the shade of. One of the youngsters is still up and about, trying to groom the mom. We haven't moved again, just because we think if we move and try get one of the youngsters are up. Glenn, do cheetahs growl? They do. I always feel quite sad for cheetah trying to act protective. Actually, cheetah purr as well, but often what they do is when they charge a hyena or they charge a vulture, much more of a hissing sound, or like a puffing. And then what they'll do is they'll try and make themselves big, so they lift themselves up on their hind paws a little bit and then slap the ground with their front paws. There was a video not too long ago about a mountain lion, I think also charging a person, or a cougar charging a person, and it did exactly the same thing that a cheetah would do, trying to chase away a predator or any threat, really. As you can see, this youngster's up and awake, now looking around. It's like they take it in turns, nearly. A little bit later on, probably the mom's going to get up. I wonder if they're hungry and he's just looking for something to eat. But I must say, in this heat, if you're going to run at 90 to 100 kilometers an hour in this heat, you are going to be very, very
very tired. You can hear an impala behind us somewhere, just barked. You can see it also caught the attention of the young cheetah. So I don't know if it's a bark or if it's the start of a rut. While we were driving here, we come across tracks of a female leopard. It's like quite a young female. Could be the female that we saw, you guys saw with Nick about a week ago. We're in that sort of area. This is good, though, this time we're spending with the cheetah, especially the youngsters. This is called habituation. We're not taming them at all. We're just getting them used to our voices, the radio, the vehicle starting, the sound of the engine, all of those things. Because if there are two males and one female, it could be that these males form a coalition, they come back onto the property, the female comes back onto the property, and we need them to be more used to vehicles when they do. Otherwise, all you'll see is a tail, a white tip on a tail, and this animal just sprinting into thick vegetation. And I can promise you now, if a cheetah does not want to be found, it's the same thing with a leopard. You're not going to find them. Cats know exactly how to disappear. Yep, this one's going to lie down now. Just like that. You'd never say there are 4 cheetah. It's just the tail that gives it away every now and then. I think eventually they'll stand up. Or one of them will stand up and just scan the surrounding area again. So I think soon we'll have to make space for some of the other rangers because we found these animals. So we were the first ones here. Now some of the other rangers with guests want to come in. But we'll sit here for as long as we can. For now, you guys are going back over to Djuma and very active elephants.
Thanks, Ray. Not that active. They haven't moved very far, but this young bull is trying to work out the tricks of the trade of how it is to push over a marula tree. He's definitely picked the right size. He's not a very big bull, so it's kind of like the right size tree for a young Ellie. But I think he's also having a bit of a nap. They've probably been moving for some hours now, and they've just gotten to the point where they're like, okay, I'm just going to stand here a little bit. They haven't been doing very vigorous feeding, so it's not uncommon to have elephants sleeping on their feet. The youngsters will lie down next to the adults. But this one definitely looks like he's had quite a long night. He's nudging her, going, where are the marula fruits? I don't know if you noticed, he put his trunk up to his mouth, like I said before. It's a very sleepy trunk, that. So our anticipation to wait for the elephants to walk past us hasn't worked, as they're all walking straight into the block. So I'm going to reposition and go onto this road over here where they're going to walk right past us. Roger wants to know if they sleep more at night during the day. Well, Roger, it's hard to say without spending the whole day with them. You'll find in very hot periods of the day that they can find a shady spot and have a snooze. But when we were doing the drone a couple of years ago already, the thermal night drone, we'd often find the elephants sleeping at that sort of 3 o'clock, 3:30 time in the morning. But they are very active through most of the day with their huge appetite. Okay, Okay, so the general direction, is this way. And just see if they're going to pop out. If we get the line right, you don't want to cut off the line. You want to find the exact angle they're walking, and then hopefully they walk towards you. And here they are coming. And the bush is quite dense right next to it, with an open gap just there and there. So you'd sort of anticipate them to pop out, but they're in no real rush. Their general direction is Buffelshoek Dam, if they keep walking on that line. So if we had them walking and moving with intention, it would be almost certain that that is their plan. But right now, very slow moving herd. Okay, well, while our elephants seem to slow down, as they do, our cheetah are up and mobile. Let's quickly send you back over to them.
So we've got the mother that is now set up. Actually, interestingly, there were 2 white-backed vultures that came from just north of us, and they actually flew. There's a whole bunch of them circling, actually a little bit south of where we are now. The mom is watching that, and the youngster's actually starting to play. Finally. See, we can't get as close as we do to lions. They just won't react the same. But it's nice to see them playing a little bit. I'm going to try to find my binoculars. When it turns around, I should be able to tell you if that's a male or female. I was just absolutely amazed that she managed to raise these. Okay, so that's a female. The one that's gone to mom now to groom her. Shame, you almost wish that all 3 of them were males. Morgan, no, so sadly, we don't intervene with animals at all because we are part of Kruger National Park, so everything is a natural cycle. The only time, Morgan, that we'll actually intervene is if anything is human-induced. So if the cheetah had a snare around its neck or paw, or it, stepped in a piece of metal and we could see that from the foot, then we would intervene. Otherwise, no, we don't get involved. Just sad, I know they are highly endangered. But then you always have to ask yourself, why do we feel the need to get involved with everything? I mean, you need to let some things just be natural, especially out here in the wild. I mean, it's 2.2 million hectares that these animals can move around on, and just let it be a natural circle. It's the same thing with the Birmingham young male. When he got injured by the rust mouse, we had a lot of messages come through saying, no, we should save him, we should collect donations to get a vet in, and we can't do things like that. It's a normal cycle in a lion's life. When they get kicked out of their pride, they either leave or they come back and they get injured. And today he's fine. Here he's walking with a bit of a limp, but nothing too bad. So same thing goes for cheetah, for leopard, for any of the animals we see out here. So we don't get involved if they are sick or ill. We'll only get involved if anything is human-induced, so caused by humans, to cause them injury or illness. Now chosen the thickest branch to go hide behind. So at least we still got the one youngster, the head, sticking out a little bit above the grass. Very tough spot to photograph them because the cheetah, of course, on the shade and the grass in front of them, it's very, very light. So the contrast between the two is tough, unless you want a silhouette. It's just grooming itself. I'm pretty sure it will pop up the head now. So like I was saying earlier, it would have been almost better if you had 3 male cheetah, because they'll stick together, they'll form a coalition. The
The females, they will go off by themselves. They'll be solitary the rest of their lives, unless they have youngsters like this female and these 3. But what a day finding 4 cheetah on Ngala. Finally. I go head down. Sleep time. Quite nice with the breeze rolling through now. So all the vultures that were circling, it looks like they were just catching thermals, and they've moved further south now. Vanessa asking what has been my favorite interaction with cheetah. I think the coolest thing I've ever watched with cheetah was we were following a male actually on the other side between the Timavati River and the Ngala Loop. It's a road that runs parallel, and while we were following it, I think the sound of the vehicle, we drove over a branch and it spooked an Ngala, and this Ngala was probably 50 meters, 40 meters away from us and just started running. And I remember just seeing the awesome speed of this cheetah disappear through thick woodland. There was no open spaces. It wasn't a clearing like this. And the cheetah actually managed to catch the Ngala, which is why I was saying earlier that, we think cheetah can only hunt in big open spaces like this because their speeds go up to, 90 to 100 kilometers an hour. But cheetah are more than adapted to hunt in woodland as well. So then that's probably the one thing that sticks out to my mind the most. We've had very bad experiences with cheetah before. Had one male killed by a leopard, had another male killed by hyenas. I think my best experience was probably the one with the Ngala. Successful hunt. Not really something we get to see often as a successful hunt. And you think you spend so much time out here, and you would. But, yeah, it's all luck of the draw, timing. Huh. See the head pop up every now and then. Still staring at us. Mom is still behind the bush. I can't even see her through binoculars. I hope they do hunt. I think she would love to feed the 3 youngsters. Okay, so we would have to leave them now. Some of the other rangers are very close, but while we do so, we'll send you back over to Steve and his elephants.
Thanks, Sharon. It'll be awesome if you get to capture that hunt on camera. I had quite a few awesome cheetah sightings up in the Mara and a few hunts. Didn't manage to capture any of them live, but we definitely got the aftermath of a couple hunts, which was quite incredible. But we were hoping to get the wild dogs hunting on camera, but they were all over the place. And when wild dogs get found, the radio gets a little bit crazy. We'll settle for our much more relaxed elephants. Very, very slowly feeding. They're slowly mobile in the westerly direction here, just on the southern side of Central Road on Djuma. We heard some screaming from another herd, but further in. There's a classic gunshot sort of sound of elephant breaking a branch. Although they're still feeding on a fair amount of grass material this time of year. Winter is fast approaching. You'll notice their dung will start changing colour as they start feeding on more and more woody vegetation. KB, it really depends on the size of the branch. And some branches are quite small. But essentially, when elephants do break branches, what they're doing is they're using their tusk. As you would if you took a stick and you wanted to break it, you use your knee to break it because of the pressure point. So until elephants have got tusks that are long enough to bend a branch over, you don't often have them breaking them. You find they might actually eat the stick straight off of the tree, where they use their molars, and you'll see where they've crunched it. But at what age? Probably after 7, 8, they're able to start breaking branches, but you don't really see them doing it for quite some time. They'll pick up branches that have been dropped, branches that have been broken already, branches that mums drop, they'll pick it up and feed on that as well. So probably in the teens, you'd probably suggest that a female who's able to reproduce from about 9 is probably able to do so. She's learned by that stage all of the necessary feeding techniques. But it'd be interesting to see, to watch, to see how young an elephant is when they do break a branch like that. But when you hear that loud crack, that's a big animal that's breaking it. It's not a small animal. But in saying that as well, elephants, even when they're small, are very, very big and very powerful. But it's the tusk development, as I said, that is required. They can break and tear leaves and branches down with their trunk. It doesn't lead to the same cracking sound that you hear. That crack is the snapping of a large piece of wood. And pushing over trees is only really sort of left to the big boys. We saw Ezulweni doing it with absolute ease. It was almost laughable how easily he pushed over giant trees. Taking it very easy on this Tuesday morning. You can learn a lot from a herd of elephants. Very slowly about their day. They're never really in any rush. Can learn a lot from that because the day is comprised of activities that are fundamental to their survival, and that's eating and drinking. They're constantly eating. Now this little fellow in front of us here, let me move up here. He just broke a branch with his trunk. It wasn't a very big branch, I'll be honest with you. How's that, John? Wasn't a very big branch. It was just a sort of a branch off of the sapling that he pulled down with his trunk. I can't see too much of tusks on him. They are there, they're quite small. But he just ripped the branch off, similar to how I could do it. Just ripping it down and allowing the way that the branch grows off of the tree to split. Here comes our mama here finally. Oh, there she is. She's very alert to us. She's definitely interested in what we are about. But I think a lot of that's got to do with the bull that's following very closely behind. Now she's feeding again. Thailand, no, I don't know if they would. They need to keep eating. I don't know what the longest period between eating would be. Their digestive system requires them to be eating all the time. The fermentation, it's basically like if you need to keep the gut bacteria moving, and elephants as well as all the hindgut fermenters, have essentially got this sort of ecosystem of bacteria and fermenting agent in their hindgut. And if you stop feeding those bacteria will start digesting themselves and eventually run out of food and then die off. And what that would lead to is probably catastrophic body failure. So they have to keep eating to maintain that. It's like feeding fuel into the fire. They've got to keep adding wood, otherwise the fire dwindles down and turns to ash. So that's essentially the process. And same with hares, I suppose. They're constantly eating. They've got times for rest. Okay, so now I moved forward and I've now positioned ourselves very badly. This female is right behind us now. But she's okay. She's still taking us out with her trunk as she feeds on this zebra wood. She's showing just slight signs of discomfort. I'm sure lots to do with the bull. It might also be to do with the fact that it's a bit windy and the wild dogs were about. Okay, well, sounds like Trish has found a bird. Let's go see which one she's got.
I found a bird, Steve. To honor you, Steve started off this morning talking about birds. And we found this really, really lovely gymnogene. I really like gymnogenes. They're one of those iconic birds here in South Africa. Or you might know them as an African harrier hawk. And we see them around lots of natural areas. Really awesome birds. And you'll see that they have this facial skin that turns from a yellow to quite a bright red. Oh, and they have this kind of crown of feathers, but you only really see it when the wind pushes behind them. There we go. Isn't that beautiful? So their skin, that facial skin will change color and it'll kind of flush to a pinky and a red when they have social interactions as a result of blood flow through the area. You'll often see them on trees putting their talons into nesting holes, kind of twisting it around because they have a unique ability to be able to twist around at their wrist area and grab little chicks and eggs. But they also take small mammals and reptiles, frogs. Justin, you'd like to know if the juveniles are born a different color? Well, as chicks, obviously, they are born a different color, but I think as a juvenile or as an immature bird, before they've gotten their adult plumage, they're kind of browny. So they still have that facial skin, but it's not as prominent, and then their feathers are brown as opposed to gray. And they can be, various different shades of brown. Sometimes you can get them quite dark, and then other times quite light. Very, very, very cool bird. It's always interesting to watch them because very seldom do they just sit there and wait. Often they're there for a reason. Hugger, you'd like to know how much this bird weighs? It's about 750 grams. So it's, big for a bird, but not as big as the eagles. Now we're talking about things that it eats. I said it could take small mammals and reptiles too. And then here at Twin Dams, which is where we are, there is a reptile, but definitely not one small enough for our African harrier hawk to take. And it is sunning itself. There it is. I always struggle to see them, especially when they're near the shadows, like this Nile monitor is, or water monitor. And then you see them, you just suddenly think, wow, what a big guy. That is a good sized monitor lizard. They can grow quite long, to about 2 meters, or just over 2 meters. And this one looks like it could get longer. But remember, the 2-meter monitor lizard is not exactly the norm. So they're generally about 1.2 to 1.5 meters. I'd say this one is on the latter end of that. Imagine if the harrier hawk did try to take it. That would be insane. But as an adult, they often weigh more than the harrier hawk would. The harrier hawk was, what, 750 grams? And these guys are about 1.5 kg, give or take a few. Well, at least when they're younger. They can grow, apparently it's actually quite a weird thing, because the weights, so lots of different studies, there's been lots of different studies on the weights of monitor lizards, particularly the Nile monitor lizard, and some of the minimum weights, which is why I talked about the minimum weight in comparison to the harrier hawk, because even if it is its minimum adult, individual weights. Well, something interesting has happened at the dam. Another harrier hawk has come through. And something beautiful has happened to the one that we were sitting with. And you'll be able to see it in a moment. So remember when we first saw the gymnogene or African harrier hawk, its facial skin was yellow. And now that a second one has come along, actually not on the same tree, quite on a different tree, but now that the second one has come along, the facial skin changed color. Don't tell me you've changed it back already in the space that we took to come to you. It almost has. It was a bright, bright red when the other one landed. Patrick, you say that this guy has a very vulture-y face. Does, doesn't it? It's the shape of the skull and the beak is very, very vulture-y. But you can actually see that this, oh, there we go. The skin around, there we go, the facial skin has that nice pink tinge. And we said that the change in the facial skin is as a result of social interactions. And now this other harrier hawk, we'll have a look at it now, which is on the other tree. As soon as that one came in, the facial skin of this first bird we saw changed color. Now that's a form of communication that could signal all kinds of things. It could signal whether you want or welcome this other individual close to you, whether you're angry, all these kind of emotional signals as a result of an emotion, rather. Perhaps it's just automatic. We don't know. All we know is that it happens as a result of social interactions. We can't for sure say it happens because they are reproductively receptive at the moment or something like that. We don't know that. All we know is that it's a result of social interaction. Now this one, its skin is still yellow. It almost looks like it didn't even notice that the other harrier hawk is there, which makes sense because it's quite hidden in the canopy of that tree. But the harrier hawk with the red facial skin is staring straight at this one. Really nice birds. I saw a hammerkop fly by as well. Oh, Martin, that is a very cool question. You'd like to know if I think that the skin color changes underneath their feathers too? I don't think so, because the skin has to be quite special for it to be able to change color so rapidly. When I say special, it's got to be very thin and it's got to be very, the blood vessels in the skin have to be quite close to the surface. And if the bird constantly, well, if all the skin was like that, then it would lose heat very, very quickly. Oh, the other one's coming towards this one. Oh, oh, this is so cool. This is so cool. Come on down to your friend so we can see your... Oh, that one's... Look at the facial skin, and that one's also now changing. Oh, this is too cool. It's quite different to tell the sexes apart, so I don't know who we've got here. They look quite alike. Oh, so cool. I was so expecting something. So expecting something to happen. Something crazy. But who knows? Anyway, beautiful, beautiful time at the dam here. Well, we're going to move on, see what else we can find.
It's the month of March and WildEarth is offering you the chance to win a brand new prize. Sign up to be a WildEarth Explorer and you could win a 5-day eco-training ranger experience for 2. Eco-training is the pioneer and leader in safari guide and wildlife training in Africa. The lucky winners can look forward to approaching dangerous game on foot, tracking and 4x4 driving, learning about animal behavior, and even spending one night sleeping out under a blanket of stars. In addition, you will also get the exclusive opportunity to join the WildEarth team on the broadcasting vehicle. Sign up to be an explorer now, and it could be you that wins this life-changing experience. Terms and conditions apply.
I got into wildlife filmmaking because of a passion for nature and a notion that I could make a difference. Helping others fall in love with nature brings meaning to what I do. It's also a lot of fun. A couple of times per week, we receive some very heartfelt messages from viewers telling us about how WildEarth has made a difference in their life, whether it's helped them through a difficult period or simply helped them to reconnect with nature. I think that's why we do what we do.
Hi, my name is Tristan Dix, and I am a guide here at Djuma Private Game Reserve for WildEarth. We love connecting you to the African bush, and we always look forward to all of your questions. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, you'll need to register on the website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit a question below the live feed. Catch up with me on WildEarth.
Looks like it's a very difficult climb because every time it tries to climb, the ground is breaking, so it slides down. But it's the only one. Look at that. That is the call of desperation with a cub. It's like, what are you doing, mommy? Oops. Oof.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
So we've since left the Fort Cheetah and decided to drive parallel to the Timavachi riverbed on the northern side. And we've been following tracks of some lionesses. Looks like 3 or 4 of them. Probably also the Birmingham Pride. But the ones that we've seen here for quite some time, I don't think the other half that's been spending majority of their time in Kruger National Park. So we're going to see if we can actually track them down, at least then we know where they are. Just cross over this little drainage line. This is actually known as Shitsalala drainage line, and this is where the female got a name from, because she spent so much time in the Shitsalala drainage line that we named her after it. Shitsalala meaning gardenia, which is a tree that you'll find in the Lowveld. So yeah, we are trying to track down these lionesses. Should be quite fun. So every now and then I'm just looking down at the ground, making sure we're still following the tracks. And if they do go south of the river, which I think they might, we'll just head over to one of the lionesses there. Oh, sorry, one of the roads there. Mark, currently we have 0 white lions on the reserve, I think. I'm not sure, but I don't think they are on andBeyond Ngala. We've checked the eastern boundary, so I don't think they've come back in. So round 0 for white lions on Ngala. As for open camp, I think they might have 2 of them there, or they might just be in the Timbavati. Saw yesterday also, the other white lion, the male, was close to Satara camp. So yeah, Ngala 0, Kruger 3. Don't worry, the balance will shift soon, I hope, I suppose. Okay, trucks are still going. So many spider webs around. You should see the car when we end off the morning drive or the evening drive. The area, it looks like streamers just popping from it. Actually looks quite pretty though when it catches the sun just right. And sometimes driving out in the early morning, you'll find these big golden web spiders. You know what they look like. They just hop onto the vehicle. So we're going to continue looking for these lionesses, see if we can find them before the show ends. But for now, send you back over to Steve.
Well, welcome back to Djuma, everybody. We've decided to get far ahead of our elephants. We've come towards Buffelshoek watering hole. The elephants crossed the road and went into the thicket, so we lost sight of them. Could still hear them feeding, but they've moved off. There's just that female with her 2 youngsters and that bull. Now, I've seen that female around. She's been on Djuma the last few years with 2 different aged youngsters, and she's often just her and the 2 youngsters, which I've no doubt puts a little bit of stress on her, being a lone adult female with your offspring without the sort of security of the rest of the herd. Can be a little bit daunting. And it probably leads one to be a little bit more protective or more vigilant, as she's still learning the ways of being a successful adult. But we're just stopping here at the watering hole to conduct one of our very special silent moments. So we invite you just to take a seat, sit back, turn the volume up, and just enjoy. Gizmo wants to know how deep this watching hole is. Well, Gizmo, it's too deep at the moment for hippo, so they have to stand on the bottom. We'll probably get elephants pretty much submerged. It's not incredibly deep, but hippos are, about 1.2 meters? 1.3 meters? So you're probably looking at anywhere between 2 and 3 meter depth at the moment, but there are shallower patches. But it was full and overflowing, and it's still looking very good, very healthy. We've seen this as a mud wallow before. We've seen this completely dry up. I don't think it will dry up this year. Well, there have been herons at this dam. Oh, yeah, and just at the corner of that little headland there, it looks like a malachite kingfisher. You see where I'm looking at? Just where the bank juts out there, there's a little leaf sticking out right down by the water. Sarah, we've seen herons here regularly. We're having a little scan around right now. Just where the closest bank there extends out to the right. Sorry everybody, I don't have a monitor. It's very hard for me to direct Johan at the moment. Looks like a malachite kingfisher just sitting there. Just where that bank extends, if we go from the bank left all the way to the right, where it just stops, there's a little leaf sticking out. There's a bird sitting just above the water there. You got him?
Not sure.
So herons don't only feed on fish, they feed on frogs as well. And last time I was here, there was a heron, and over the years, there's always been a heron moving in and around. There might be one just around that little headland there. So we're not sure if you can see the kingfisher sitting there. Still sitting there. You see where the bank just juts out there? There's a little branch sitting on the edge of the water. I think you might be a bit too far left. Not that far, the first closest bank to us there. Had a little swim. It's busy bathing now. Okay, everyone. Well, we're going to move on from our watching hole. Maybe our elephants will come down, and we might wait another moment, but we'll send over the Trish and see what she's up to.
I am mooching about on quarantine at the moment. I actually wanted to go onto Zoe's for a little bit before show ends. And I also remembered that I forgot to tell you about the leopard tracks. I think we were just lucky, or rather it was just a coincidence that the impalas were calling, or rut calling, rut roaring, rut alarm me calling. That rutting sound, just as I saw the leopard tracks. Because as I followed them, I see that it came across all the way to quarantine, or western quarantine, and then towards the south, and it most likely belonged to Shadula, and it was probably from last night. So what I wanted to do was just check along Zoe's road, because she used to hang out in that area as well, and she's quite predictable with her movements. So we should do that. Anyway, that's how we ended up at Twin Dams, by following tracks down. But I did lose them. So I want to check Zoe's. Simone, you'd like to know how is Tingana doing? Well, I haven't exactly messaged him lately to find out how he's doing, although I have heard through other people that he's looking quite well. So last time I was here, about 2 weeks ago, hello you guys again, let's just get a spot of shade. About 2 weeks ago, he was seen around our fire break, actually, northern fire break, and he looked very well. But I think he might have been seen since then. Just not one where I've seen the photos of him. Because when I saw him, he looked very well in the photos that I'm telling you about a couple of weeks ago. But you know what, Simone, I think we've got to know for ourselves, right? We can't just take other people's words for it. Definitely, when I find male leopard tracks, I will be on them. I miss Tingana. I miss seeing a male leopard. That would be great. Look at how beautiful they are. Stunning. There's also a wildebeest with them. On his own, because he's territorial at this time. And because he doesn't have the herd, he needs more eyes and ears. So he'll be hanging around these impala. Hello, Hatfield. You'd like to know if there's usually only one male impala in the herd. No, so generally impalas have mixed herds. And their mixed herds are kind of, there's not even a strict herd makeup with them. Sometimes there's bachelor herds and breeding herds, and then sometimes it's mixed herds. But the reason that we're seeing one male now with all these females is because it's a rutting season. He will hold a territory for that time. He won't hold it for long, just a couple days. But when he holds this territory, all the females that come into the territory are his to mate with. So territory means that he's defending this area against other males. So that's why he's keeping these females in, and he won't mate with a female more than once. He'll mate with them once. And then, because during this time, in these few days that he holds this territory, he'll lose condition quite badly. He'll not take care of himself as well. He won't eat as well, because he's too preoccupied with mating. that he'll lose condition, and then another male will come in, they'll fight, and then he'll take over this territory, and any females that come through the territory, he will attempt to keep in the territory and attempt to mate with. So this is only usual for the rutting time of the year, because that's the only time where when impala rams are territorial. Look how shiny that fur is. They look like they've been oiled up for some muscle magazine photo shoot. I love how we can watch these impalas, they can be totally calm, and all of a sudden, this ram will just decide, nope, I'm feeling it right now. And then all hell breaks loose. Johnny Frank, you say that male's coat was truly spectacular? Absolutely. Gorgeous. Oh, we have a photo bomber. Oh, beast. Now, a similar thing will happen with the wildebeest. He will, like I said, he's territorial at the moment, and I know that because he's not in his herd. And he'll be only territorial for the portion where he wants to mate. Because otherwise, there's no need for him to be, there's no competition between the males, apart from this time when they need to mate. Really nice scenes here. Quarantine is just stunning. Just beautiful. With the sunlight and the shade and all these antelope. I think it's a very nice moment to share with you all. Anyway, Rowan wants to talk to you about what he plans on doing this afternoon. So let's go in here.
So at the moment, the tracks of the lionesses we were following actually crossed the river onto the southern side. So we've now come onto the southern side just to check if we can actually pick up on their tracks. So fingers crossed. As for this afternoon, Gert, what do you think? Maybe go into the western part of the reserve, you know, have a look around there. Like I said, we've not seen a leopard in quite some time. So I think what we might do is head west, check rhino pools, see if we can find maybe Tswalu male. Not 100% sure yet, but I think I'm leaning towards the west. And then a little bit later when it cools down, maybe back to the cheetah or even check for any members of the pride. Yeah, for now, can't see any tracks of these lionesses again. So they may actually have settled between the river and this road. There's an impala. So we did find tracks of the lioness and the three youngsters, but I think she might have left them in the riverbed again. So she went back last night and you could see where they played around just in front of a very big thicket. But I think she left them there again, safe and sound, and then head further away to go hunt. So she must have been unsuccessful the night before, sadly. Poor girl. It is very tough being a mother out here in these conditions. Bridget, thank you very much. So do I. I've not photographed a leopard in a very long time. I'm getting like itchy withdrawal symptoms. But really, I hope so too. Thanks, Bridget. Just cross your fingers and hold your thumbs for me, if you would. I was hoping that I could find these lionesses before drive ended, but it seems that they have eluded us. Done quite well though. 4 cheetahs. I'm very happy with that. Let's check the next road. Still can't even see trucks here. As Tswalu was saying, the bush is really looking gorgeous. What we've started noticing though now is a bit of the grass is discoloring. So it is still very, very, very green, as you can see, but some of the tips of the grasses have started going grey, and it's just the change of the season. I think it's the amount of dew we're getting, but then also the mornings have been cooling down quite significantly. This morning I was wearing a fleece, and then this fleece now just lives on the vehicle with me, because probably tonight on our way back when it's dark I'll be putting it on again. So it's actually quite nice. I love winter in the bush. I love the photography aspect of summer, but the amount of bugs and the heat, I mean, sometimes it gets to over 42 degrees in summertime, and that's not pleasant. At least in winter, it's very, very, very cold in the morning, but as you stop for coffee, you take off all your fleeces and you're still in shorts. Just absolutely lovely. So I'm very excited for winter to arrive.
With a slew of potential dangers lurking, it's essential to be aware of your surroundings whilst walking in the wilderness.
20 yards away from one of the most endangered species. This is a big bull.
What a moment, what a close encounter with an early bull. He's just over here now. He's moved completely away.
Being on a bushwalk and seeing a leopard, I mean, it's ridiculous to be this close to a leopard on foot and for him not to run is absolutely insane. How crazy was that?
Through the gap there is just the back of the head of a male lion. He is absolutely unaware that we are here right now. I'll tell you, seeing lions on foot, it definitely brings out the caveman in you, this little scared human being.
Well, one track here in front of me, and then one track went right there. I want to follow the track with the cubs. Sorry, I'm gone behind the car. That's very rude of me. I want to follow the track with the cubs. Oh, my word. Oh, my word. Okay, so everybody, we've just bumped into Pride of Lion.
I'm Nikki here at andBeyond in Ngala in South Africa. I love getting questions from viewers about all the small things within the environment and how it all is integrated with one another. If you want to ask me any questions, please simply register with the WildEarth website, head across to the Live Safari page, and then post your questions there. I'm looking forward to chatting to you on my next WildEarth drive.
Okay, there's another big male coming in from our left here. Another big male, look at this. This is the one. Now you're going to see sparks fly, guys. Guys, it doesn't get better than this, eh? Yes, unbelievable. Africa, I love you, eh?
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Well, we've come to that time We are towards the end of our safari, so I thought instead of driving around, let's just spend a little more time, a few more minutes enjoying the scenery here in quarantine, and these impala that are very, very well behaved, because they look splendid, especially with the sky in the background, because they're up on that termite mound. You'll find them eating on top of termite mounds quite a lot, because with all the rain we've had, a lot of vegetation has started to grow in the termite mounds, and because the soil is so nutrient rich in those areas, and then the grass and vegetation that grows on those termite mounds are the first to go. The sun is really starting to beat down, but at least there's a bit of a breeze. Looks like our wildebeest bull is the smartest out of the lot here, finding himself a patch of shade. And obviously with his darker coat, he probably warms up a little bit faster than his friends, the impalas. Like I said, he's clearly territorial at the moment. And during this time, they'll adopt a kind of a harem system. But otherwise, they're kind of very loose in their aggregations. We've had a really lovely herd previously of wildebeest out here in quarantine. Hopefully they will recoup. They had some unfortunate run-ins with the lions. But everybody's got to eat and survive. Let's hope that this season you'll have a good breeding time, and then also we'll have some lovely calves towards the end of the year. Absolutely stunning. Anyway, these are the glorious closing scenes for your sunrise safari. We'll see you this afternoon. Bye-bye for now.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good